Hello everyone, I'm Nate and welcome to the channel. Today on the channel I'm going to be reviewing something pretty cool. Hollywood Modern YoYos, Ross, owner of that company, has sent me over a couple different things for review, including dopamine, which I'll be reviewing probably in the next one. But what I'm going to talk about today is called the Stätion. Maybe you've seen a little bit about that if you follow Ross or Modern YoYos on Instagram or something like that. All right, so this is the Stätion. We're going to be talking about this today. This is not the best angle that we're going to be looking at this. So we're going to do a top down here. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let's flip the camera around and let's take a look. All right, here we go. This is the Stätion from Hollywood Modern YoYos. So yeah, bear with me. I'm not usually doing an angle like this. So if it's not absolutely perfect for this top down, I'm sorry. All right, before we get into the details of everything here, because there's a lot, a couple things to note. First off, this is a tool. This is not a toy. This is something, a tool for your toys, okay? So if you are somebody much younger, you know, a minor, for instance, or you know, like 5 years old, watching my channel for some reason, and you're into this, get an adult to help you. Also, this really is meant to be stored on a flat surface, right? Don't just kind of have it like on the floor or whatever. There are some vials here with liquid that, you know, we don't want them spilling out and things like that, and you don't want little pieces going missing. So you definitely want to have this on a sturdy, like permanent surface that you just kind of have it stabilized there. All right, let's go ahead and break down everything here and what this is for. It is a 3D printed base, and from what Ross said, I believe it was 4 years in the making. So this was no rush job. And what we're going to talk about here, and just off the bat, just kind of with having it for about a week here, everything's in the details. Like, there are so many little, like, minor little things that I'm picking up that I'm like, oh man, okay, that was just really smart to think about that from an engineering perspective and a design perspective. Let's just kind of work our way over, okay? So here we have a couple of different vials, which these are glass, which are really nice. So they're, you know, they're just a nice material. And I like the size of these. So we have bearing solvent. We have a pad solvent, which I don't actually have anything in here. I thought I had some Goo Gone in the house, and I didn't. But that's what would go in here, something like Goo Gone. If you're familiar with that, we'll talk about that. And also just rubbing alcohol. As we're doing things like that, we're cleaning bearings. So if you're not familiar with that process, you really want to make sure that you're ideally outdoors, but like a well-ventilated area, because we are working with some things that can be hazardous. And so, yeah, just be careful with that. Again, adult supervision if you're not an adult. These are for the bearing cleaning primarily. So for instance, if you have your yo-yo here that you want to go ahead and clean this bearing, you know, you go ahead and grab that. Now, if your bearing is nice and stuck, now this one's actually de-shielded already, but if you had shields on there, right? If you've never had to take the shields off of a bearing before, there's also tools in here for that. But back here we have the actual bearing removal tool, and these are all labeled. They're laser engraved on them. There are 3 different sizes, okay? So 3 different ones for all the different various sizes. So from a C bearing, which also covers your B bearing, I believe. C bearing and B bearing, as well as then you have this one's A and D, okay? And then you also have, this is your E bearing. So that would be for like your loopers and stuff like that. Now, you can put them in here as well, but whenever you want to go ahead and store them, you can stack them right here. Now, since I have a C bearing one here, what I really like about these, by the way, is the length of these. I've never seen a bearing removal tool. I don't know if there's one out there like this, but this long, and it's sturdy. It's going to give you a little more torque. So for those that are maybe a little bit more stuck, you know, this is going to be easy to pop off, just like I did right there. Like, real simple, okay? Now, you can put that in there, right? So this is ideally whenever you're actually done cleaning the bearing, you can put that in here and you can kind of spin until all of that, you know, alcohol, whatever, is out of the bearing, and then you're ready to put it in, and so on, okay? So you can drop your bearing in here, right? So in your solvent, shake, 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 right? And then throw it onto here and spin it. If you wanted to put some lube on it, then we have thick lube and we have thin lube, okay? So this is from YoYo Factory, this is their stuff. The label completely came off, so I didn't realize, you know, anyways. But this is the thin lube, so you can put a drop or two in there, right? Put this back in your YoYo and good to go. And then you can go ahead and take that out and put that back in its proper place. So there's one of the major pieces to this. This will be, again, another adult supervision thing, but we have some pins here that have their place here, so that's really nice. Again, you want this on a flat surface, right? So those would be things that could go rolling and missing and you step on them. You don't want that happening. So they go in here, and that would be also for de-shielding and so on. But these are also for if you want to replace your pads, you can get under your pad and pop that out and so on, right? Now, if you had some residue left over from the pad, this is where something like Goo Gone in this one would be. So that's the solvent, the pad solvent area. So again, it's marked clearly there. You can take the cotton swab, dab it in there in the Goo Gone and run it along here and get any excess there. And then you have your pads you can replace. This is a nice little like section here too. I've counted 10. You can fit 10 comfortably on each stack here, so plenty of pads here. These are some of his pads as well. So there you go. Again, really solid there. I love the little, like, you can kind of just pick it off the side here. These are kind of those details. So I've talked about these as well, and these kind of things, the bearing removal tools. There's also just like, a lot of these things are kind of just in case, just if you can't get the job done with this other tool. This is a YoYo Factory multi-tool. It has a string cutter and those kind of things on it as well. Again, just an extra, really more. All right, so we've talked about these, we've talked about these, we've talked about those. All right, so again, there's extra stuff in here. Like, just in case your first tool doesn't work out, there are a couple other just kind of like almost overkill. For instance, we have a Swiss Army knife. This is one of those little details, by the way, that I really appreciate. I can tap on the one side here and it's easy to lift out. We have a little, like, you know, indented section here on the tray itself, which is really nice. So again, I can just kind of push there. On the, you know, getting everything out is really easy. I don't feel like I have to tip any part of it or kind of, I don't know, manhandle it to kind of just get into there to get the tool out. It's just really easily accessible for everything on here. So, you know, on here we have obviously a little knife and things like that. We have a little pair of scissors so you can cut string if you want, if the string cutter's not your thing. We have a pick on here as well, things like that. A little pair of tweezers, I think, on one side as well. So just a basic little pocket Swiss Army knife. We also have your Allen wrench as well, so to get your axle out and things like that. This is thought about everything, honestly. Like, I can't think of anything that the Stätion hasn't thought of. I like its small, compact size. The tray here fits pretty much what you want. So whenever you're maybe de-shielding, things like that, that can go in here and you're not losing it. So if you want to put the shield back on, for instance, or whatever, or if you're taking an axle off, that's just great. And it's small enough that it can fit a pretty decent size yo-yo, nothing larger than maybe 55 or something like that, 56. Last thing, I forgot to mention this because, you know, I don't think about these things as much as somebody who plays mostly 1A. If you are a 5A player, right, and you have a counterweight, you oftentimes will have a little bead like this on the counterweight, and that little hole there for threading is like near impossible sometimes to get the actual yo-yo string through. So this little tool that is actually meant for, well, it's actually meant for sewing, is great for something like this. You could thread it through, and you pull it through, just like so, and then you can pull the yo-yo string through just like that. A little bit of effort, but not too bad. And then it's a lot easier than trying to kind of thread that just by hand. Again, everything has been thought of here. I would put the Stätion in one of those categories of you don't realize how much you need it and how much you would use it until you actually got it. This is something I'm personally going to be using all the time. Anytime that I want to just kind of just do anything minor, and I'll probably make an excuse to use it because it's so user-friendly. Definitely check out the Stätion from Hollywood Modern YoYos. So there you go, that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Definitely check out Modern YoYos stuff, Hollywood Modern YoYos. And definitely check out the Stätion. I'll have a link in the description where you can find everything that is related to that. Again, I'll be reviewing the dopamine next, so be on the lookout for that. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like and subscribe and all that stuff. I'll see you in the next one. Later.